Stampers, welcome to Make a Card Monday. Today I am going to show you how to do these vases that look like they have water in them. They're so pretty, and this was actually a card that I received in a swap from a good friend of mine, Jerry. And she sent along directions with how to do it, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it and do a video on it. So we're going to make a card using this technique. I don't have the completed card. We're just going to make it as we go. So then you'll have two samples to look at when we're all done. So are you ready to get started? Let's do it. So the card that I'm going to make to start off, you're going to need a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock that measures 8.5 by 5.5. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to fold it in half to form our card base. Okay, we're going to use a bone folder along the fold just so it's nice and crisp. Okay, now we can set that aside. We're also going to need a piece of basic black cardstock that measures 5.25 by 4. And then on top of that, we're going to need a piece of Whisper white cardstock that measures 5 by 3 3/4. So this is the piece we're going to start with. And I really like the look on Jerry's card where she does some things in black. So we're going to take that lead and we're going to do that too. So the stamp set that we're going to be using is the Varied Vases stamp set. I love this stamp set. It is so much fun to play with, and there's also a coordinating punch that goes with it. Okay, and it is, like I said, so much fun to work with. So we're going to start off, we're going to be using our Memento black stamp pad. Whoops. And I am going to create kind of a shelf that we're going to put our vases on. Okay, so in the Varied Vases stamp set, there is a stamp that looks like this, okay, that we're going to use to make a shelf here. So I'm just going to kind of eye it like that, put it down, and there we go. Perfect. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to make my I think I'm going to make my vases first. Okay, so we're going to need some Vellum cardstock, okay, which it's like, we used to do vellum a lot on cards, but I like our Vellum cardstock because it's thicker, so it's easier to work with. So we're going to use a piece of Vellum cardstock, and we're going to use the Vases punch, and we're just going to punch out the vases that we need. Okay, now we're also going to come up with a leaf and a little flower, but you don't need those, so you can put those aside. So what we're going to do to give our vases the color is we're going to use sponge daubers and stamp pads. Okay, so I kind of picked some colors together that I liked on a card, on a different card swap that I received. So I decided we're going to use those for this card. So our colors we're going to be using are Poppy Parade, Mango Melody, and Granny Apple Green. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Poppy Parade. We're going to open it up, and I'm just going to use a sponge dauber. And what I'm going to do to color my vellum is I'm just going to start sponging and kind of wiping the color on. Okay, now I have found doing this in the past that it doesn't seem to matter how many coats you put on, it's only going to be so dark. So once you get it covered, you're just going to want to take your piece and set it aside to dry. Okay, now it does take it a little while to dry, and the more ink you put on it, the longer it's going to take it to dry. So just kind of set it aside. So again, now we're using the Granny Apple Green. Going to use another sponge dauber, and I'm just going to kind of, whoops, sponge on here and wipe the colors that I want. Okay, so set that one aside to dry. And our final color is going to be the Mango Melody. Get my sponge dauber out for that. And again, I'm just going to kind of sponge my color on here, and again set it aside to dry. Okay, now I had already done 3 of these vases, and they have been drying. So I'm going to pull those out and use those. So now what I want to do is I want to stamp my flowers to go in my vases. So let's kind of sit here and determine where we want our vases to be on this card. Okay, and I kind of like that look right there. Okay, so I pulled out 3 of my flowers from the Varied Vases stamp set. Again, I'm going to use my Memento black ink pad. Just going to ink up the flower that I want on this far left one. Kind of position where I want it to be, move my vase, and then stamp that on there. Okay, this one's going to be next. Again, I've got my vases sitting where I want them. And to eyeball where I want this, move that aside, stamp that like that. And then this one was kind of back behind it a little bit like that. Ink it up and eyeball it and stamp it right like that. Okay, so now my vases are ready to go on. Now I have found that one of our best adhesives to use on vellum is actually our liquid Tombow glue. Okay, so if you get it and you just don't put a lot on, but just a little bit, smear it around so that you can't really see lines of the glue, and then adhere it where you want it, and you're not going to be able to see the glue at all. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit on this one, put it here where you can see it. Just want to get a little bit, smear it around real good. Put it where I want it, and then my last one, smear it around good. I'm going to kind of stick it behind a little bit. Put it just like that. Perfect. I love the look of that. Okay, now I want to stamp my greeting on here. Again, I'm going to use my Memento black. My greeting is just going to say birthday wishes. Okay. Going to adhere this to, I think I am out of adhesive here, of course. Let's use our Tombow. I tend to do that a lot. It's going to kind of smear it around on here. Going to adhere this to our basic black. Put a little bit more Tombow on the back of this. Adhere this to my card front. Ah, love the look of this. Okay, now you don't ever want to forget the insides of our cards. Okay, the Varied Vases stamp set has some really nice card insides that coordinate with it all. So just going to put, hope your day blooms with happiness. And you know what? Let's add, I like the flat, oh, you know what? I have kind of an idea. One of the pieces, ooh, I like it. One of the pieces that punched out with the punch was a little, like a daisy. I mean a tulip. It's like a little tulip stem. So what I'm going to do is I am going to find the stamp that is just the stem. Okay. Ink it up in the black. Stamp the stem right there. Let's do a little bit of our Tombow on the back of him. And let's stick him in there just like that. So there we have the inside of our card decorated too. So there you go. There is our finished card. using the technique that is sponging on vellum. So I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope you try the technique yourself. Thanks for stopping by.